There is a war happening right now that has displaced more people more than any other conflict on earth. More than the war in Ukraine, more than Gaza, more than Syria at its peak. 13.6 million people torn from their homes, 33 million needing aid just to survive the year. A famine confined in parts of the country, and yet, if you ask most people on the streets to name it, they could not. This is the story of how Sudan became the world's most catastrophic humanitarian disaster and why the world stopped watching. To understand how we got here, you have to understand two men and one broken promise. In 2019, Sudan's dictator of 30 years, Omar al-Bashir, was overthrown. For a moment, there was hope, a transition towards civilian rule. But power in Sudan did not belong to the people. It belonged to two generals. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, head of the Sudanese Armed Forces, and General Muhammad Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemiti, and the commander of a paramilitary forces called the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, born out of the Janjaweed militias that terrorized Darfur 2 decades earlier. The two generals were supposed to match their forces and hand power to civilians, but instead, on April 15, 2023, they turned their weapons on each other. Within days, Khartoum, one of Africa's largest capitals, became a battlefield. Artillery tore through residential neighborhoods, hospitals were shelled, families hid in basements, while tanks rolled past their windows. Within weeks, the fighting metastasized far beyond the capital, into Darfur, into Kordofan, into cities that had nothing to do with the power struggle in the first place. By 2025, the Sudanese army had clawed Khartoum back, but the city they reclaimed was a shell-looted, gutted, its basic services collapsed. The government returned to a capital it no longer recognized. And by then, the war had already moved onto its next chapter of horror. For 18 months, the city of El Fasher in North Darfur was under siege. The RSF surrounded it, cutting off food, water, and medical supplies. Civilians, including thousands of children, endured relentless bombardment while trapped with nowhere to run. When the city finally fell, the humanitarian access the world had been begging for came far too late. Nearby, in the Zamzam displacement camp, the UN confirmed something the world had not officially declared in over a decade. Famine. Children were dying not from bullets, but from starvation. Aid agencies say more than half the children in some of those camps were reaching the most acute stage of malnutrition, a stage where survival is no longer guaranteed. Here is the part that makes Sudan different from other crises. It is not that the world does not know, it is that the world has chosen to look away. The United Nations asked for $9 billion to fund its 2026 response plan for Sudan. It received a fraction of that, under 16%. Compare that to the speed and scale of global response to other conflicts, and the gap becomes impossible to ignore. Analysts call it geopolitical selectivity, a polite term for a brutal truth. Crises without strategic value to major power get quietly deprioritized. Sudan has no oil pipeline running through Western capitals, no NATO border, no global energy market riding on its outcome, so it burns largely alone. Meanwhile, outside powers haven't stayed neutral. Investigations have traced weapons flowing into Sudan from multiple foreign states, turning a civil war into something closer to a prosy conflict, fought with Sudanese lives funded by other people's interests. As of the middle of 2026, the front line has shifted again, and this time the Kordofan, where drone strikes hit markets and residential streets almost daily. The most recent alarm came from El Obeid, where the RSF has been massing forces. American officials have warned that if the city falls, it could trigger mass atrocities on a scale the world has not yet seen in this war. Almost 3,000 days after it began, the pattern has not changed. A city is besieged, a city falls, the displaced move again, and the world attention move somewhere else. 33 million people That is not a statistic. That is roughly the population of an entire country. All of them needing help just to see tomorrow. Somewhere in Darfur tonight, a mother is deciding whether to walk her children through territory controlled by armed men, because staying means starving and living means risking everything else. Wars don't end because the fighting becomes unbearable. They end when the world decides it is unwilling to look away any longer. Sudan is still waiting for that day.